Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session for matters that leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. So at this point in time, we're going to go into executive session.
Is there comments from visitors at this meeting?
There is not.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
What would you like to ask, Jim?
Like, what's the specific reason to go into exec session?
Interviewing a candidate.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'll turn the meeting over to Mrs. APPR.
Thank you, Mr. Garingswald. The reason for the special meeting is to address some pending or unfinished business. At our last Board of Ed meeting, we took a preliminary vote on accepting New York State School Board recommendations for voting on resolutions at their annual business meeting, and we have since attended the Nassau Suffolk School Board Association resolution dinner. And it is my responsibility as the voting delegate to update the board on the results of that dinner meeting. Of the 30 resolutions that are currently scheduled to be voted upon at the New York State School Board Convention, Nassau Suffolk School Board agreed with New York State's recommendations for voting on all 30 resolutions except for 2. And it is, again, it's my responsibility to review those oppositions with the board for consideration. In addition to that, there are 3 proposed resolutions to which there are amendments, and we need to look at those amendments as well. So if I could just begin, the 2 resolutions and all of this information, I'm sure you all received this on Friday. It was sent directly from Nassau Suffolk School Board. Their cover letter, their tally worksheet, as well as the booklet was sent to everyone, so that I'm sure I'm just reiterating what you've already read over the weekend. But the 2 resolutions that we need to look at, because Nassau Suffolk did not recommend voting with New York State on these 2. Those 2 are number 13 and 19. Resolution number 13, in essence, addresses state intervention in schools that are deemed to be financially mismanaged. And as a matter of information, both Nassau Suffolk School Boards and all of the member delegates at the dinner meeting opposed this resolution. The feeling was that, and if we should choose to, by voting along with Nassau Suffolk on this recommendation to oppose the resolution, Half Hollow Hills basically agrees that fiscal management should remain at the local level with all the existing imposed controls, including all the federal and state audits. So we don't want to remove any of that. We're just agreeing to oppose state takeover of financially mismanaged school districts. So Mr. Garingswald, I would like to ask for a motion to oppose resolution number 13.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions?
I just have a question. So
Sure.
that would be to oppose local control, to oppose,
Oppose state.
We'd be in favor of local control
Correct.
on fiscal issues
Correct.
in school districts, not ours, but others that are experiencing fiscal problems.
Right, with the proviso, as it states in the resolution, but still maintaining federal and state audits. We don't want any state takeover of local
I
schools.
just asked one, doesn't the state already do that? I mean, there's examples on the island where they're already doing that. I mean, isn't that happening at Roosevelt or Wyandanch? Isn't that, or am I misunderstanding?
That's educational, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's more educational, it's not.
Or it's at a
finance.
it's on a much larger scale. so-
Performance and.
But it's not
Exactly.
financial
It's not a
mismanagement.
financial, okay,
Correct, yes.
all right, thank you for
Okay.
clarification.
And theoretically, there's 134 school districts on Long Island, so, you know, really the preponderance of school districts felt that it's better to allow the school districts to manage themselves financially. And there are certain school districts that we all know that are, you know, running out of resources.
Right.
They've run their reserves to almost
But that doesn't
deficit
mean that they're
portions.
financially mismanaged.
Correct.
I'm
No,
sorry, I didn't mean to
correct.
interrupt, but that
No,
doesn't
they're
mean that
not.
they're financially mismanaged.
But
You don't want the state.
you know, you don't want the state to construe that as potential financial mismanagement and jump in and create issues.
Okay, good.
What though if there is financial mismanagement?
Like Roslyn,
Yes.
then I think that's criminal, right?
What generally occurs is as I understand, and it was one of the questions brought up at the meeting, you know, you look to remove, of course,
So rather than have a state come in, you just make changes locally?
you make changes locally, but you're still staying within the parameters of federal and state audits.
Right.
And so that will clearly give you direction. Okay?
Any other comments? All those in favor of that? Great.
Okay. The second item is resolution number 19, and it addresses incorporating pre-K into your operational school aid formula. And at the resolutions dinner, both Nassau Suffolk School Board Administration, the organization itself, as well as the member delegates at the dinner, voted to oppose this resolution as well. And should we agree to oppose and vote along with Nassau Suffolk's recommendation, Half Hollow Hills would be agreeing that incorporating pre-K funding into a district's operating budget without a guarantee of funding could lead to yet another unfunded mandate. So it is my recommendation, and I would like to ask for a motion to oppose Resolution 19. We want to keep the funding as it is.
Motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, motion,
Any comments or questions on this one? Yeah, this makes perfect sense in that it would be an unfunded mandate, so it's, you know, I'm glad that they oppose that, and thank you very much for bringing that back to us, Diane. And then all other resolutions,
We have to vote. All in
okay,
favor?
all those in favor? Great, everybody's in favor, okay.
Now, Mr. Gummerswold, I still need to touch on, there are 3 policies that had an amendment that were added to the resolution. And should those amendments actually make it to the floor, I do need guidance from the board on those, so can we just quickly go through those? And again, I'm sure you all saw that these are referencing resolutions number 2, 9, and 10, and we'll start with number 2, if I may. Number 2 addresses scheduling frequency of state administered standardized testing. And we previously voted to follow New York State's recommendation to adopt this resolution. So we are adopting the resolution that stands. This is to look at the amendment should it come to the floor. This first amendment was put forth by Newark Valley School District, and their wording expressed no confidence in the testing. Nassau Suffolk School Board itself did not have an advisory position on this amendment because they did not get the amendment yet. It was such a new amendment. It did not come to them when they did the voting. However, all of the member delegates at the dinner voted to oppose this amendment. So I would like to ask on amendment number 1, put forth by Newark Valley School Boards, I would ask for a motion to oppose amendment number 1.
Okay, so do we have a motion for number 2 to oppose the first amendment that was
The first
promulgated?
amendment to resolution number 2, correct?
Yep.
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions?
I just want to make sure I'm clear, so.
Sure.
As far as number 2, Newark Valley School District is saying they wanted to insert language that says they have no confidence in the state testing.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. The addition was, quote, express no confidence in the current New York State testing system, Everything else in that resolution stayed the same, except that addition.
Did you get a sense of why the Nassau Suffolk School Board Association was not in favor of
Nassau Suffolk did not have,
They didn't take a
did
decision.
not have an advisory on that because the resolution came to them so late. However, there were board members from both their executive committee and their legislation committee, and they did make comments. The feeling in general in the room from the school boards that were in attendance was that it's more productive to have positive language and other resolutions approach this more positively, to stay with positive language rather than to go with, as they, I think the word they used was dark language. And so that's why they opposed this particular,
Okay.
this particular amendment.
I don't know anyone's take on it. Personally, I just know in our district, we had almost 50% of parents opting their kids out of certain tests. I know that there was a petition that was signed by, I think, over 300 New York State school superintendents on certain topics, which I believe were fighting back against the current system. I think 50 superintendents in Long Island, I read, signed it. I know we haven't discussed it as a board yet. I'd like to discuss it at some point. I know it's not today because it's a special meeting. But on this issue of dark language or negative language, I think it sends a message. So even if we're standing alone with Putnam, or was it, Newark Valley?
This was Newark Valley
Sorry,
School
I
Board.
apologize,
Yep.
I'm not sure
It's
what that
okay.
is. I'd like to send that message that, at least in Half Hollow Hills, we don't have confidence in that system. So I'm just
I'll
giving my
just
2
make
cents
one
on that.
comment, Adam.
Sure.
I actually received an email from a community member over the weekend regarding the superintendents that signed the petition. And the superintendents were invited to sign the petition, so the question was asked directly to me, would I be signing? And I did respond to the email that I would absolutely be signing for the petition. So just so that the board is aware of that and that you are aware of that. I believe that there was the New York State Superintendent's Conference in Saratoga Springs last weekend, and I was in the district. I was not out of the district at that conference, and I believe many of those superintendents were at that conference, and that may have been where that occurred.
And my comments weren't at all directed to be critical. We
Oh, no,
weren't
no,
on it yet. I know
no,
we
me
haven't
too,
discussed it.
I just wanted
No, I
you
appreciate
to
that.
understand that's where I believe that came
Okay.
from.
So,
Just, Adam, if I could,
Sure.
this was, there was quite a bit of conversation on this, but it was all to the, directed at there are positive, more positive things that are in place or that are in the works from superintendents' organizations, from the teachers' unions, that would have a more positive effect than to use the no confidence, that they felt that at this time, the no confidence was really just not warranted. Just relaying what the general consensus.
I appreciate the conveying.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, Mr. Geringswald, could I ask for a motion to oppose amendment number 1 as per, the member delegates did?
Yeah,
You have your motions.
yeah.
Yes, we
Okay,
have.
so
we have a
And so
motion.
did we vote, did we get,
No,
No,
so
I'm sorry.
now,
Mr. Walker.
well, can I just ask one other question? The Port Washington amendment, the second one?
yes, that's what we'll get to next.
Okay, is that also recommending that there is opposition to the state testing, or?
It also does in different language,
So it
It does in different
conveys the
language.
same point, but
Yes.
with different language?
yes.
Should we
So-
talk about that before we vote on
Yeah, it
the
might
first
be,
one?
yeah, it might be
Just to make-
beneficial, just so that
to
we can
make-
make that comparison, if
Okay,
that's okay.
so we have a motion, we just don't have an all in favor.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so you wanna-
tabled right now.
okay,
The
fine.
first motion's tabled,
Okay.
Let's talk
pending
about the
discussion
second.
about
Okay,
the second.
so the second amendment, which was put forth by Port Washington, referenced, and I will tell you exactly, the language is exactly the same in the resolution, except for the
It's the same
addition
number.
of. It's the
Yes,
same
it's the same
resolution number
language.
2, we're still working on resolution number 2, this is just amendment number 2 put forth by Port Washington. The Port Washington School Board would like to insert the language that states superintendents, administrators, and teachers shall work collaboratively to modify the scheduling, frequency, and quality of state-administered standardized tests. So the words that they're adding is superintendents, administrators, and teachers, and quality. Otherwise, the resolution, again, remains the same.
Right, so basically, my take on that is the Newark Valley amendment is very clear in being direct in the communication.
Yes.
Some could even say antagonistic in the communication. The Port Washington one actually talks about the exact same issue, but it uses language that says who would be responsible for doing it,
But they're
rather
offering,
than
they're offering
to
the
be
solution,
part
they're
of the
offering the solution rather than just stating
No
that there's a no confidence.
Yeah, and, you know, again, from a discussion perspective, my perspective is, I don't want personally ever to be in a situation where I'm pointing a finger saying, neener, 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 you didn't do this right, or you didn't do that right, neener, neener. I'd prefer to say, hey, this is a problem, this is a proposed solution, this is a way that we can deal with that problem, rather than just whatever it is, I'm against it.
Correct.
And that first Newark Valley one seems to be whatever it is, I'm against it. The second one seems to be, here's a way that we may improve the situation, but we still are not supportive of the testing, right?
So, I would
I
recommend
understand what
that.
you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think that the only thing that has done anything in fighting back against what's going on in our state has been the parents and the teachers and what happened with the APPR and the pressure put on them. So I understand what you're saying. Personally, I think a more direct message always gets it across. There's no room for interpretation. And that, like you said, is it antagonistic? Could be. But, you know, that's why I guess we all got a different vote.
This is Agriculture. May I please read the resolution so the board members that don't have it in front of them can just hear?
Sure.
Which,
With the amendment?
the one that we're discussing, the Port Washington
Go ahead.
Amendment. Resolved that the New York State School Boards Association, in conjunction with the New York State Board of Regents and New York State Department of Education, superintendents, administrators, and teachers shall work collaboratively to modify the scheduling, frequency, and quality of state-administered standardized assessments.
Yes, that would be the,
Okay.
that's the full statement to amendment that Port Washington offers.
Okay.
Thank you, Betty.
So we have the motion on the table for the Newark Valley amendment. Can I ask for an amended motion and see if this makes sense? And if it doesn't make sense, that's okay, then we can go back. Do we want to choose, can we make the resolution to choose either we're for Amendment A or 1 or 2, or should we do them separately?
I'd prefer to do them separately.
Okay.
Because if we're not going with the Newark Valley, and I'm guessing, just a hunch that that's not gonna pass here, then my vote may change for the Port Washington one. if that's
Okay.
all right.
Absolutely.
Okay, then
As
that's
the voting
fair.
delegate, I do need guidance on individually because these amendments may
Come up differently.
never reach the floor at all. But
Sure.
if they do,
Yeah.
I do need individual guidance on them, so yes, I'm afraid
Okay,
you
that's
need to,
perfect. So
okay?
then, we do have the motion on the floor for Newark Valley. All those in favor of opposing Newark Valley, right? All those in favor of opposing? Okay, so we've got 5. All those in favor of supporting Newark Valley? The Newark Valley Amendment, 2. Okay, great.
Okay, so can we just go, can I just ask for a motion then to support Amendment 2, Port Washington?
Yep.
Um,
Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in,
No, go ahead,
No, I would say, based on the first vote now, I'll vote on this one.
yes.
okay, so at this point, we are supporting the
Amendment.
Port
Amendment
Washington
number 2.
amendment, which
Should it reach
opposes
the
the
floor
testing.
at all?
Right,
Correct.
which opposes the testing, so it's
Correct.
the same as the other, just with different language,
Yes.
correct? I just want
Correct.
to make sure I'm clear
Yes,
on what I'm
You
voting
are
on.
correct.
Yes.
Okay, good. So those who would support the Port Washington amendment, great, so that's 7-0. Perfect.
Okay. The next one has one amendment.
Just have,
It's,
I'm sorry,
I'm
just have
sorry.
2 more.
Resolution number 9 addresses delaying the effective dates of new laws and regulations. And again, we previously voted to accept the recommendation of New York State on the general resolution. This amendment is again from Port Washington, and it adds language which refers to emergency situations If you'd like me to read the actual language, it says, resolved that New York State School Boards Association support legislation to require new laws and regulations to take effect no earlier than July 1st of the following calendar year, and at least 90 days from the date that the New York State Education Department has fulfilled its own requirements, such as written guidance to school districts, before school districts must implement new education laws and/or regulations. The amendment wording is this: notwithstanding the above, in the event of an emergency situation, laws and regulations can use a shorter timeline if they are fully funded to each school district involved. That's the specific wording that we're addressing, and I would like to recommend and ask a motion to support that amendment, which is put forth by Port Washington.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? No, that makes perfect sense. If the change is fully funded, then it's appropriate to do it earlier.
Mhm.
It's when they don't fully fund it and they implement those changes that cause hardship on us that really is problematic. So, you know, I think it's great. All those in favor? Great.
Okay, and the last item that I'm bringing to the table is resolution number
10.
number 10. I'm sorry, I just flipped the page. Okay, and that addresses requiring design of APPR process that informs instruction and promotes student learning. I can also,
I have it.
You have it?
Important to read
I was
it.
just gonna read it.
The amendment states, resolved that the New York State School Boards Association expresses, quote, no confidence in the current New York State APPR system, and that it actively supports legislation which would require the design and validation of an APPR process that truly informs instruction and thereby promotes student learning. The language that is the change here is expresses no confidence, quote unquote, in the current New York State APPR system.
Right, and that amendment is put forth again by Newark Valley School Boards. Once again, the member delegates at the dinner voted to oppose this for the same reason as the other, that the language was not as productive and that other resolutions address solutions rather than just laying blame. So I would like to ask for a motion to oppose this amendment, which is opposing Newark Valley's wording, express no confidence in current New York APPR.
Right, so we voted to support the item previously,
The original
the
resolution.
original
We
resolution.
did vote
So
yes.
this one, we're just giving you the guidance to say we don't agree with.
Should it come to the floor at all? Yes.
The additional
The-
language.
Yes, the
Yep.
additional language is just the wording, express no confidence in the current New York State APPR system. That's the only difference in the wording on the resolution.
And it's, you know, it's clear that there are challenges with the APPR system, which is why the governor has looked to change that process.
Right,
So-
and other resolutions also address this with solutions, so,
Good.
so,
Is this the comments time or?
No, we need a
we
motion.
Oh, wait.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Great. Questions, comments?
Same issue, so I'll keep it short, but especially on this one, I think we need to send a direct message on behalf of our teachers that we don't have any confidence in the current APPR system. So whether the governor is appointing some sort of committee to try and deal with it or not, I think our teachers deserve that. So I am certainly hopeful that we will vote in favor of this line.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
just one other comment. Just keep in mind that should this actually come to the floor, there are a minimum of 200 school districts which must be in attendance in order to even hold this annual business meeting. Last year, there were 279 in attendance. I'm assuming that at the rate of registration and whatnot this year, and all the notices that we've been receiving, there will be at least, again, 279. So, again, remember, you're one of 200 plus voting on this, and I'm sure there will be comments and from the floor, but should this resolution come to fruition?
But even if we're the only one that votes for it, I still think that's my position.
And the resolution does state that the APPR process is not
Oh,
functioning
yes,
properly.
and it is actually actively supporting, this is one of the resolutions that uses the wording, they're actively supporting legislation.
Right.
So this is not just a recommendation, this is not just a we're going to put in
Right.
place, this is, we are actively supporting legislation to require a change in the system. It's a little bit, it's not even a little bit, I think it's personal, I think it's substantially stronger language than some of the other resolutions that are put forth. And we're also keeping in mind that these resolutions, this is the goal setting for New York State school boards for the year. Theoretically, that's what these resolutions are directing. They're directing their focus for the year. And this one does say actively support legislation. So I'm okay with that, but
And it
this
was,
is just
but
the
the
majority.
rationale the same, it's just inflammatory, because it would
Yes.
sound like if you're actively supporting a repeal of the law,
Yes.
you have no comment.
Right.
You have no
Yeah,
comment,
Yes,
you're saying.
right,
that-
but
you're saying the
that
same
wording
thing.
itself, and that's what was brought up at
They just
Nassau
don't, that
Suffolk.
actual terminology.
There's
That's
no
exactly what was brought up
confusion
at
when
Nassau.
someone says, I have no confidence in the current APPR system. There's no ambiguity about where you stand. So by me personally standing up here and saying, I agree with that,
So what,
you know where I stand.
Okay,
If
so-
without that language, we can say we're gonna work together, we can say we put together a
So-
proposal.
Adam, let me ask you a question. So
Sure.
what is your solution?
My solution to this particular resolution?
I mean, you're flat out opposed to it. Tell me what you're gonna do to fix it. What's your recommendation?
For this resolution, I'm gonna add that language in, and I am going to be a vocal advocate I tell you what, our district, I'd like to see be a vocal advocate to try and change this system. And when it comes to putting forward a proposed amendment or proposed resolution, I'd like to see us start that process earlier next year, because the Newark Valley School Board, wherever it is, maybe I'll have to move there one day, but they feel strongly about this. They put together a proposed resolution, they put together an amendment. We're not doing that. I'd like to see us be a leader on this issue. So
Okay,
that's
but-
my solution.
But what, I mean, you know, try to give me some specifics. I mean, we're having an open discussion.
Sure.
We're on film.
Sure.
Tell us what you're gonna do to fix this. Because, I mean, it's just, you know, again, you're saying flat out, I'm opposed to this.
Right.
What do you wanna do? What is the solution?
The solution is fight back on this until the governor gives in. Now, the governor has, all of a sudden, now he is appointing a different commissioner. Now, all of a sudden, there's a committee being put together. My opinion, he's obviously trying to curb the opt-out movement. I believe, from what I've read, the new commissioner is trying to get superintendents to put together plans to try and quiet parents in the community. So I think the governor doesn't have to deal with this issue. We want to have a long debate about individual issues. I think in our district, I think we have a lot of leaders in the community who spend a lot of time advising parents on state testing issues, and I think we should involve them more in the process. I'd like to see the formation of a committee. I don't want to call it just a Common Core committee, because I think the issue of are you pro or against Common Core, I think that's a couple of years ago. I think we're past that. But I'd like to see them involved because they have a heck of a lot of knowledge. They spend a lot more time than, with all due respect, I think some of us do on those issues, because we have a lot on our plates. That's not the only issue we're focused on.
Absolutely right.
So I don't think it's as simple as me saying, put together alternative language. I don't think there's any language I'm going to like as much as the current system stinks. Is that antagonistic? Absolutely. So to me, no confidence. In my world, it's not as antagonistic. What else can we do about this? We can talk about it more, I think. I mean, want me to put together a plan? I'm happy to do that.
Well, I just, I guess the language where, there's gonna be input from, a softer language to, reevaluate this system, because evaluating teachers, you know, it's, in any profession, there's evaluation. I mean, you know, physicians are evaluated, attorneys are evaluated. When you fly on a plane, you go to a hotel, you buy a car, you know, everyone's has an evaluation. So, you know, the system is clearly flawed, but, you know, again, I think, you know, we're providing language where we're gonna look into this, and there has to be a thought process. I mean, just to say flat out opposed to it, and you know, without really having some plan, I just think is a little, is problematic, but you're entitled to your
No,
opinion.
but I think the soft language is what got us into this mess. I think soft language doesn't send a message. And on this issue, and I know we've been opposed, or at least I know I've been opposed on certain issues with this board, whether in the past or in recent months. On this though, I understand your position on this topic. I'm certainly not trying to be antagonistic. I understand why you're saying that you don't like this language. I get it. I mean, this is not pleasant language, saying there's no confidence in the current APPR system. It absolutely sends a message. But I think it, in my opinion, everything that led us to get here was soft language and people not taking a stand. And I'm not talking about our board. I'm talking much larger scale, which is, I think, what you're asking me. I think if the parents aren't vocal, I think if the school boards aren't vocal, then I think this only gets worse. And I don't see how else we can do anything. I think, I'm not a volunteer, I'm an elected official. I think from what I sensed in the community last year, this is an important issue to people. And I think they want to know that we are taking a stand on it. I could be wrong. There could be people that say, absolutely, I like the current system. Let's hold the teachers to the fire. Let's put their careers on the line based on what kids they get and how that kid does on a standardized test, and if they don't show improvement. I think the whole system is a disaster. And I think you said it's flawed. I'm being more extreme by calling it a disaster, but really we're saying the same thing. We don't think the system works, and you know.
Right, but I think we've got language here that we're trying to support as a board, where we're, you know, that we're gonna convene the appropriate people to review this. There are people that, like you said, whether they're people in the community or legislators or educators, or people that have expertise that can help to come up with a better system. To just say, I'm opposed, that's the message, but you know, you're not giving me any kind of idea.
Can I?
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the.
Can I just
Sure.
interject for a second? I'm trying to relay comments that were made at the resolutions dinner about this, and because there was some conversation, and the thought process was Albany is coming to the realization there are superintendents groups, there are unions which are making inroads into actually changing this system. So at this point, putting in wording like expresses no confidence is poking at the bear. You've gotten to the point where you're getting some concession from Albany, you've got a new leader in state ed, you're getting some concession. Let's not poke at them at this moment, let's just go with the language that strongly suggests supporting a change in legislation without being antagonistic. Mrs. DiSabato, did I kind of express the...
You did, and I'll just read the original resolution real quickly. Resolved that the New York State School Boards Association actively support legislation which would require the design and validation of an APPR process that truly informs instruction and thereby promotes student learning. So is
That was
no
the
confidence?
original.
Yep,
Thank
Well,
you.
it's
the
almost
original.
like, you know, saying no confidence is almost like putting the exclamation point at the end of the sentence. As an educator, you know, you're always told, you always say something positive before you say something negative. So even if you took this, which obviously, no, we can't change this, but even if you took this resolution and you put that we would support the design and the validation, and then at the end, right, because we don't have confidence, is almost saying the same thing. It's just that it's gotten to the point where, yes, we understand that things are flawed and yes, that we have to change things, but by stating that we have no confidence is basically the icing on the cake for us saying, okay, you know, we've given people, you know, the opportunity to be able to go about this in a way that basically it's almost like the government is just like sugarcoating things now for us, because that's what, like Adam said, because they wanna like just calm everybody down for now, and that has happened in the past where we've given them the opportunity and they've just turned around with something else where we got like slapped, on the other cheek. So
I just want to make one comment just as the superintendent, and I've said this for a number of years. I think that we really have to be very careful and understand that there are Common Core standards and there are assessments in the school district. And as the school district, we have prided ourselves in always having a curriculum that addressed New York State standards. And our curriculum does do that, and it always has done that. As a district and as an administration, we have always spoken that a teacher's evaluation should not be the result of one particular test score. For our special needs
Correct.
students, the hours that they're sitting taking those assessments are not appropriate. We've always communicated that, but I need to express to the board, to the community, that the Common Core standards are good. They're strong and they're guiding a very solid instructional program in our school district, and that we also have a responsibility not only to provide for success for students at the elementary and middle level, but also at the high school level. And that the Regents examinations, we all need to be aware that they are going to be guided by experiences connected to the Common Core standards. So do we have concerns about the APPR? Absolutely. As a district, personally, as the superintendent, and the teachers know that those are our feelings, the administrators know also. But has our work as educators in terms of addressing the standards and curriculum that is appropriate for students, has that developed and is it ongoing? Absolutely, to ensure for success for our students to graduate from our school system successfully. So,
I'd be happy going along with what, sorry, I'm a first name guy, what Paul had said, what Paul had said about what would you do, and I think it's education, and I'd like our community to be educated. So, one of the things, I was going to bring it up at the vision meeting, but it seems to be appropriate now, is can we put together some sort of program in the auditorium where we have people discussing these issues who studied it a lot more than I think, who put a lot of time into it. I wouldn't mind seeing, the Teachers Association president, who I know can articulate this stuff better than anyone I've ever heard. And I wouldn't mind seeing somebody on the opposite side.
but I don't think there is an opposite side. That's what I'm trying to express. I don't think that the district has an opposite side.
Not the district, I'm saying the issue. There are people out there that are saying the current system is good, or it wouldn't have been enacted in the first place. There are people defending, like you're saying, you say the Common Core is good. I know people, and I'm not saying my opinion on it, that say, no, it's not good. I get it, but there are people that say the standards are not good. This is the big debate, in education, in the state, and in our own community. So I'd like to see that debate held within our district. This is a lot broader, though, than just the language we're voting on here today. I think the vote is, if I can bring it back to that, is, and I'll even adopt your language, do we want to be antagonistic or not? If that's how it's going to be characterized, yes, then I want to be antagonistic on this issue.
Okay.
So I think my opinion, not to silence the discussion, because I'm always the one who's saying I want discussion, but we should probably vote on this issue.
But I just want to comment on one thing, Adam, and that you shared it, and I'm all for, gathering opinions and really having input, but things that really are focused politically and are in New York State, a debate in Half Hollow Hills about them, that's really not, our place as an administration to have a debate. There are laws that we have to follow, there are guidelines that we have to adhere to. We have a responsibility in terms of successful graduates in the program. So, and again, as we've said, what makes an individual the expert What makes the individual the person that has all, I've had many conversations and great conversations with individuals about this, but it doesn't mean that someone's particular opinion or feeling is more valid than another person's.
Well, that's why we listen and we judge for ourselves.
Absolutely, but what I'm saying is that I could be in an auditorium with 400 people, and there could be 50 that agree with the assessments, there could be 75 that disagree, there could be a 100 that agree with the Common Core standards, there could be, so who's, we can listen to that, absolutely, but ultimately, we have to adhere to the law, and we have to adhere to providing a sound education for students. And I really, I need to urge that there's a difference between the assessments, and there's a difference between to the standards. So that's the piece from me, that's a challenge.
Right, and this particular resolution is really just talking about
APPR.
the
Yeah,
APPR,
APPR
not
only.
about the Common Core.
Correct.
I think
This
we're
is
having a
strictly
broader
about
discussion
APPR.
than just this.
Yeah.
We are, and
We
that's where
And I think-
it's taken a left turn.
And I understand it's a special
I'm
meeting,
sorry,
and
we've
I don't want
done-
to, for any of us to be accused
Right.
of discussing this sort of at the time when most of the public isn't here, even if it is on video. So, I
But
know we're
even-
having a
again,
vision
this
meeting, I
addresses, as
anticipate
David
this
said,
will come up.
strictly the
It's just-
APPR,
it's just-
Maybe we
evaluating
all
the
agree vision meeting
APPR
might be a
system.
good time to discuss some of this more in depth and.
But it's definitely a struggle. I'm sitting here still not exactly sure. I almost wish that there was, as Stephanie said, it may be some middle language that we could have done that would be less antagonistic, but obviously we don't have that choice now. We have to vote sort of one way or the other.
Well, just so we could be clear, Diana, can you go through the process of what we would have done if there was anyone that was interested in putting forth a resolution or an amendment?
Well, this, as with others that have come up, there's one of the resolutions this year was brought forth last year and was not adopted. The school board went back, reworded it, significantly changed the direction of the resolution. It's back on the agenda for this year, and New York State School Board is recommending adoption of it this year. So I guess what you're asking is, we would have to sit down and craft language to address a particular issue, whether it be APPR or whatever.
Right.
And that process would start, these resolutions don't happen overnight. It takes school boards months because of various time constraints, and then it has to go to legal, and then it has to, administration has their input, and everybody has their input in crafting the language that would in fact be accepted to move forward. So
It's just, I guess maybe an internal struggle, but it's what we've been talking about. Personally, I'm not looking to be antagonistic, but on the other hand, I agree that, we do need to send a message. The message has been brought to us loud and clear from the community, from the parents, from all of the kickback to this particular system that's in place. So I am struggling with, poking the bear, or sort of taking the sort of less,
Yeah, and the
Mr.
key
Garrett,
is,
and again, knowing that this really is just predicated on a resolution getting to the floor and a
This is not a
continual
law,
vote.
this is not
On the
approving a law, this
singular
is not-
focus of APPR, and I've kind of been the district implementer since it began. And the big shift with 3012D, the latest rollout of APPR, is it's virtually unimplementable. You signed for me this morning a hardship waiver that we're submitting as a school district. We are telling, and again, you got different branches. The commissioner is not appointed by the governor, they appointed by the Board of Regents. They have their slant. They're trying to implement the governor and legislature's laws and rules, and they've presented us with a system that for the first time, myself, Mr. Haas, Mr. Green, and Mr. Strunk from the Principals Association have come to the table, and we've said, we can't do this. We've submitted a hardship waiver saying, with what you've given us and with all of our best efforts, we can't submit to you a plan. So, and again, I know the no confidence piece also has a specific meaning in its terminology, but in essence, whether it's no confidence or inability to do what you've asked with the laws and regulations and support you've given us, we're at a point where this morning I'm going to submit a waiver that says the Half Hollow Hill School District, through best efforts with its Teachers Association, and I believe those to be best efforts, and through best efforts with our Administrators Association, and again, I believe those to be best efforts. Neither Mr. Hobbs nor Mr. Green and Mr. Strong have been intentionally blocking the rollout of APPR. We can't submit a system. They have not given us what we need to do it. So I put that out there just.
Can I ask you a question to follow up on that? And if this is an unfair question, then don't answer.
Okay.
Based on what you're telling me, do you have any confidence in the
No.
current APPR system?
Now, the term no confidence means
It's
something
subjective.
different.
I get it.
So that piece.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, again, but it's not a question of it's almost like, do I think someone's effective versus their rating of effective? No confidence means a certain thing. What I'm saying is we are submitting a waiver, it's not even an opinion, we are submitting a waiver that says we are unable to implement 3012D right now in Half Hollow Hills, given the law, regulations, and support we've been providing.
But see,
Okay,
now,
In my opinion,
hold-
a statement like that, I'm sorry, is stronger than the no confidence, because to actually say something like that, to me,
Yeah.
carries more weight and is more of a,
But we can't put that
It's
forward
more of
now.
a-
So my choices are no confidence or not no confidence.
Right.
To me, that,
this
No,
is
not-
not,
it's
again,
support
just the wording,
legislation.
and again, this may
And-
never reach the floor, but.
I get it.
Yeah, and the
Again, I just
reality
want-
is it's not a choice, okay? So I just want to make sure that we're on the same boat,
Right.
we're on the
It's not
same page, right?
Yep.
The reality is all of us have already voted on this resolution
Right.
to accept it.
Correct.
So-
Without-
so-
Just
so-
voting on the
Just
amended
right,
So
yes,
language.
that
we-
we're only
correct.
voting
So we're
on
just saying
that
that
small bit of wording of the amendment.
If this amended piece happens
If
to
it gets
come
to
to
the
the floor,
If it,
Correct.
If
correct,
it gets to the floor, we're gonna vote for it.
which really is
We've already
nothing more.
voted to support changing the
Correct,
law.
we've already
Yeah.
voted to
Yeah.
support the resolution.
So the reality is, I understand that, Nassau Suffolk School Board opposes it, but is this a tomato-tomato situation?
Yeah, but the thing is, even the
Words.
Newark Valley School Board, which is endorsed by Brewster, they're saying, like, they give like a whole rationale, and part of what they're saying is, key stakeholders have not been involved in the design of the APPR system, and quote, in parentheses, administrators, yet they are expected to execute the system. Those responsible and are most knowledgeable need to be involved in the design. And they're basically saying that, it says, let us be clear that I'm making this resolution, say what any of us as individuals would tell the public if they are asked that that the APPR system is not working. So basically, by saying that we don't have confidence, we're just basically agreeing with that, and as well as what Dr. Harrigan is saying, because even though the language is not, no confidence is a little controversial, it's basically making a statement that we don't believe in this. We believe that the APPR system is flawed, and that we need to do something about it. And also to piggyback on what Betty was saying, as far as looking at resolutions to add wording and changing it. So when we received all these resolutions on August 25th, we had between August 25th and September 9th to actually sit down together and change things, but we weren't able to. So going forward, we need to be more cognizant that when we get this booklet, if we're gonna make any changes, that we need to look at it at that moment, schedule a meeting where we can look at all of the resolutions, whether it be 1 to 30 or whatever it is, and add our own language in, because you're seeing all these people, Newark Valley, Brewster, Port Washington, they're involved in it. Looks like, we have a lot to say, but we're not in this. So going forward, I would like to see us be more involved in this.
Yeah, so those who are in favor of opposing, which is consistent with Nassau Suffolk School Board, all those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Okay. So in the event that that comes up, that'll be the direction.
Yes.
Okay.
But
And
again,
that's,
we've all opposed Yeah, it's just a change in language there.
No one, I
Yes,
think
right.
we can fairly say none of us like the system.
None of us like
And
I said it on video.
There you go.
And that'll
And-
show
and
absolute
we all agree
discussion.
on that.
And we all agree.
I think that's pretty clear, so, you know.
It would be interesting to
It's a
see how the
struggle of
vote
words.
actually comes back after the convention, and I will report on that. Thank you again for the direction for voting.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion, second. Good. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Great, thank you.
Vote on the motion?
Oh, all those in favor? Yeah, thank you, Paul. Good. We're adjourned today.